Vandeyam Shri Guru Shiyata Parakamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savarutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shiveshikam Vitam Cha Om Ajnana Timarandasha Gyanajana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namo Gurva Bhistam Supurakam Gurganara Sesha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Vedanipunam Shri Rupa Patanagam Govindabhidam Ujwalam Bharatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Vande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noe Bija Pradam Devam Divyatanum Suchanda Varanam Balar Kachelan Shitam Sandrananda Puram Sadekavaranam Vairagya Vidyamburim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Mandetam Shivanam Mareka Sharanam Yashishwara Shridaram Manchakopatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavenibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahabaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami with translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. This is Madhya-lila, chapter 5, the activities of Sakshi-gopal. I'll begin with verse number 83. Tabe chota vipra kohe shuna sarvajan e vipra satyabhakya dharma parayan. The young Brahmin then said to all the townspeople there in Vidyanagar, will all you gentlemen present please hear me? This elderly Brahmin is certainly truthful and is following religious principles. Swabhakya charite ihara nahi kabuman swajana mrityu bhaye kohe asatya bachan. He had no desire to break his promise, but fearing that his kinsman would commit suicide, he deviated from the truth. Ihara punye krishne ani sake bolaiba tabi e viprera satya pratigya rakiba. By the piety of the elderly Brahmin, I shall call the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a witness. Thus I shall keep his truthful promise intact. Etashuni nastika lok upahasakore kehobule ishwara doyalu asiteya pare. Here in the emphatic statement of the younger Brahmins, some atheists in the meeting began to cut jokes. However, someone else said, after all, the Lord is merciful, and if he likes, he can come. Tabi se chota vipra gela brindavan dandavat kore kohe sabha vivaran. After the meeting, the young Brahmin started for Vrindavan. Upon arriving there, he first offered his respectful obeisances to the deity and then narrated everything in full detail. Brahmanya Dev Tumi Boradoya Moy Dui Viprer Dharma Raka Haya Sadoy. He said, my Lord, you are the protector of Brahminical culture, and you are also very merciful. Therefore, kindly show your great mercy by protecting the religious principles of us two Brahmins. Kanya Pava Moramane Ihanahi Sukh Brahmanera Pratigya Jai E Boraduk. My dear Lord, I am not thinking to become happy by getting the daughter as a bride. I am simply thinking that the Brahman has broken his promise, and that is giving me great pain. Eta jani tumi saki deho doya moy jani saki nahi daya tara papa hoy. The young Brahmin continued, my dear sir, you are very merciful and you know everything. Therefore, kindly be a witness in this case. Person who knows things as they are and still does not bear witness becomes involved in sinful activities. Krishna ko he vipratumi jahaswa bhavane shubha kore more tumi korea smarane. Lord Krishna replied, my dear Brahmin, go back to your home and call a meeting of all the men. In that meeting, just try to remember me. Avirbhav haya ami tahan saki diba tabi dui viprer satya pratigya rakiva. I shall certainly appear there, and at that time I shall protect the honor of both you Brahmins by bearing witness to the promise. Viprabole jari hao chatur bhuja murti tabu tomara bhakye karuna habe pratiti. The young Brahmin replied, my dear Lord, even if you appear there as a four-handed Vishnu deity, still some of those people will believe in your words. No, he said. The young Brahmin replied, my dear sir, even if you appear there as a four-handed Vishnu deity, still none of those people will believe in your words. E mortigiya jari e Sri Bharane Sakideho Charitabe Sarvaloka Shune. Only if you go there in this form of Gopal and speak the words from your beautiful face will your testimony be heard by all the people. Krishna Kohe Pratima Chale Katahana Shuni Viprabole Pratimahao Keho Kenebani. Lord Krishna said, I never heard of a deity's walking from one place to another. The Brahmin replied, that is true, but how is it that you are speaking to me, although you are a deity? Pratima nahat tumi saka brajendra nandan vipralage kora tumi akarya karan. My dear Lord, you are not a statue. You are directly the son of Maharaj Nanda. Now for the sake of the old Brahmin, you can do something you have never done before. So, the deity said, I never heard of a deity walking from one place to another. But the Brahmin replied, if you can talk, you can walk. That was his reply. The Brahmin replied, that is true, but how is it that you are speaking to me, although you are a deity? My dear Lord, you are not a statue. You are directly the son of Maharaj Nanda. Now, for the sake of the old Brahmin, you can do something you have never done before. Hashinya gopoko he shunaha brahman tomara pache pache ame koriva gaman. Sri Gopalji then smiled and said, my dear Brahman, just listen to me. I shall walk behind you, and in this way I shall go with you. The conversation between Lord Shri Krishna and the Brahman is proof that the Lord, in his Archa Murti, or form made of material elements, is not material. For those elements, although separated from the Lord, are also a part of the Lord's energy as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Because the elements are the Lord's own energy, and because there is no difference between the energy and the energetic, the Lord can appear through any element, just as the sun can act through the sun's sunshine and thus distribute its heat and light. So Krishna, by his inconceivable power, can appear in his original spiritual form in any material element, including stone, wood, paint, gold, silver, and jewels, because the material elements are all his energy. The Shastras warn, Acharyam Arche Vishnu Shiladi Narakisa. So one should never think of the Archa Murti, the deity within the temple, as stone, wood, or any other material elements. Because of his advanced devotional position, the younger Brahmin knew that although the deity of Gopal appeared to be stone, he was not stone. He was the son of Nanda Maharaj, Brajendra Nandana himself. As such, the deity would act exactly as the Lord does in his original form as Krishna. Lord Krishna was talking to the young Brahmin just to test his knowledge about the Archa Vigraha. In other words, those who have understood the science of Krishna, Krishna's name, form, qualities, and so on, so forth, can also talk with the deity. To an ordinary person, however, the deity will appear to be made of stone, wood, or some other material. In the higher sense, since all material elements ultimately emanate from the supreme spiritual entity, nothing is really material. Being omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient, Krishna can deal with his devotee in any form without difficulty. By the mercy of the Lord, the devotee knows perfectly well about the Lord's doings. Indeed, he can talk face to face with the Lord. Ulatiya amatumina korea darshane amake dekile amir rahiba seistane. The Lord continued, do not try to see me by turning around. As soon as you see me, I shall remain stationary in that very place. Nupurer dvani matera amara shuniba se shabde amar gamana prati koriba. You will know that I am walking behind you by the sound of my ankle bells. Eksera anarandi koriba smaran tahakana tomar sange koriba gaman. Cook 1 kilo of rice daily and offer it. I shall eat that rice and follow behind you. Aradin agyamagij chalila brahman Tarapache Pache Gopal Korilagaman. The next day the Brahmin begged permission from Gopal and started for his country. Gopal followed him step by step. Nupurer Dwani Shuni Ananditaman Uttamana Paki Kori Koraya Bojan. While Gopal followed the younger Brahmin, the tinkling sound of his ankle bells could be heard. The Brahmin became very pleased and he cooked first-class rice for Gopal to eat. E mate chale vipra nija deshe aila gramera nikata ashe monete chintila. The younger Brahmin walked and walked in this way until he eventually arrived in his own country. When he neared his own village, he began to think as follows. Ebe mui grame ainu jaimu baban lokere kohiba gia sakira agaman. I have now come to my village, and I shall go to my home and tell all the people that the witness has arrived. Sakate na dekile mane pratiti na hoy ihanjare rohen tabu nahi kichuvoy. The Brahman then began to think that if the people didn't already directly see the Gopal deity, they would not believe that he had arrived. But even if Gopal stays here, he thought, there is still nothing to fear. Eta babi se vipra viraya chahila hashinya gopala deva tataya rohila. Thinking this, the Brahmin turned to look to look back, and he saw that Gopal, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was standing there smiling. Brahmanere kohi tumi jahani jagar etaya rohiba amina jab atapar. The Lord told the Brahman, now you can go home. I shall stay here and shall not leave. Tabe se vipra jai nagare kohila shuniya sakala lok chamatkara hoila. The young Brahmin then went to the town and informed all the people about Gopal's arrival. Hearing this, the people were struck with wonder. Aila sakalok saki deki bare Gopal deki alok dandavat kore. All the townspeople went to see the witness Gopal, and when they saw the Lord actually standing there, they all offered their respectful obeisances. Gopala Sundarya Deki Loke Anandita Pratima Chaliya Aila Shunya Vishmita. When the people arrived, they were very pleased to see the beauty of Gopal, and when they heard that he had actually walked there, they were all surprised. Tabise Bora Vipra Nandita Haya Gopalera Age Pare Dandavat Hoya. Then the elderly Brahmin, being very pleased, came forward and immediately fell like a stick in front of Gopal. Sakal Loker Age Gopala Sakidila Bora Vipra Chota Vipre Kanya Dana Koila. Then in the presence of all the townspeople, Lord Gopal bore witness that the elderly Brahmin had offered his daughter in charity to the young Brahmin. Tavise dui vipre kohila ishwar tumi dui janme amara kinkar. After the marriage ceremony was performed, the Lord informed both Brahmins, you two Brahmins are my eternal servants, birth after birth. Like these two Brahmins of Vidyanagar, there are many devotees who are eternal servants of the Lord. They are specifically known as Nityasiddha, eternally perfect. Although the Nityasiddhas appear in the material world and seem to be common members of the world, they never forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead in any condition. This is the symptom of a Nityasiddha. There are two kinds of living entities, Nityasiddha and Nityabhada. The Nityasiddha never forgets his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whereas the Nityabhada is always conditioned, even before the creation. He always forgets his relationship with the Lord. Here the Lord informs the two Brahmins that they are his servants birth after birth. The phrase birth after birth refers to the material world because in the spiritual world there is no birth, death, old age, or disease. By the order of the Supreme Lord, the Nityasiddha remains within this material world like an ordinary man. But the only business of the Nityasiddha is to broadcast the glories of the Lord. This incident appears to be an ordinary story about a marriage transaction involving two ordinary people. However, Krishna accepted the two Brahmins as his eternal servants. Both Brahmins took much trouble in these negotiations, just like mundane people, yet they were acting as eternal servants of the Lord. All Nityasiddhas within this world may appear to toil like ordinary men, but they never forget their position as servants of the Lord. Another point, the elderly Brahmin belonged to an aristocratic family and was learned and wealthy. The young Brahmin belonged to an ordinary family and was uneducated. But these mundane qualifications do not concern a Nityasiddha engaged in the service of the Lord. We have to accept the fact that the Nityasiddhas are completely distinct from the Nityabhadas, who are ordinary human beings. Srila Narottam Das Thakur confirms this statement. Gauranga Sangi Gane Nitya Siddha Korimane Se Jai Brajendra Sutapash Sri Godamandala Bhumi Jeba Jane Chintamani Tara Hoy Braja Bhume Bas. One who accepts the associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Nitya Siddhas is certainly to be elevated. One who accepts the associates of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Nitya Siddhas is certainly to be elevated to the spiritual kingdom to become an associate of the Supreme Lord. One should also know that Godamandala Bhumi, those places in Bengal where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed, are equal to Brajabhumi or Vrindavan. There is no difference between the inhabitants of Vrindavan and those of Godamandala Bhumi or Sridham Mayapur. Okay.
Whose song is that? I mean, which song is that, Maharaj? You know?
Yes. Gauranga Sangi Gane Nitya Siddha Korimani Se Jai Brajendra Sutta Pash Sri Godamandala Bhumi Jeba Jane Chintamani Tarahoy Braja Bhumi Bas. I think it's Gauranga Duti Pada.
In the songbook.
Yeah. Duhara Satya Tushta Hoilan Duhe Magabar Dui Vipra Bar Mage Ananda Antar. The Lord continued, I have become very much pleased by the truthfulness of you both. Now you can ask for a benediction. Thus, with great pleasure, the two Brahmins begged for a benediction. So, you see that Gauranga Duti Pada?
Yes, one moment I'm just right here.
And it says, you have it? I think.
128.
Yeah. Gauranga Sangi Gane.
The second verse of Savarana Sri Gaura Mahima Gaurangera Duti Pada Jardana Sampada.
Okay, and this is Gauranga Sangi Gane Nitya Siddha Korimani Ajai Brajendra Sutapas Sri Goda Mandala Bhumi Jeba Jane Chintamani Tarahoy Braja Bhumi Bas. Now there's
by considering the associates of Lord Gauranga to be eternally perfect, one can attain the association of Sri Krishna in Braja. Whoever considers the land of Lord Gauranga, Sri Navadvitam, to be the land of transcendental touchstone, that person takes residence in Braja, Sri Vrindavan.
okay. Duhara Satya Tushta Hoilan Duhe Magabar Dui Vipra Bharamage Ananda Antar. The Lord continued, I have become very much pleased by the truthfulness of you both. Now you can ask for a benediction. Thus with great pleasure the two Brahmins begged for a benediction. Jaribar Dive Tabe Roha Estane Kinkare Doya Taba Sarvaloke Jane. The Brahmin said, please remain here so that people all over the world will know how merciful you are to your servants. Gopal Rohila Duhe Korana Sevan Dekite Aila Sab Deshara Lokajan. Lord Gopal stayed and the two Brahmins engaged in his service. After hearing of the incident, many people from different countries began to come to see Gopal. Now, here, Deshara Lokajan, Deshara from many countries, Desh. But also we should consider that India itself is considered to consist of many deshas or many countries. And you could say like that because there are many places they don't speak, they all have different languages. Marathi or Punjabi or Gujarati or so many languages, Bengali, Karnataka and Tamil, and so many languages all over India. They're all like different countries. So, and what to speak of countries outside of India. Gopala Rohila Duhe Korana Sevan Dekite Aila Sab Deshara Lokajan. Lord Gopal stayed, and two Brahmins engaged in the service. After hearing of the incident, many people from different countries began to come to see Gopal. Say Deshara Raja Aila Ascharya Shunya Parama Santosha Paila Gopale Dekiya. Eventually the king of that country heard this wonderful story, and he also came to see Gopal and thus became very satisfied. Mandira Koriya Raja Seva Chalaila Sakshi-gopal Boletara Nama Kyate Hoila. The king constructed a nice temple and regular service was executed. Gopal became very famous under the name of Sakshi-gopal, the witness Gopal. Mata Vidyanagare Sakshi-gopal Seva Angikara Kore Achena Chirakal. Thus Sakshi-gopal stayed in Vidyanagar and accepted service for a very long time. The city of Vidyanagar is situated in Trilanga Desh, South India, on the bank of the river Godavari. The place where the Godavari flows into the Bay of Bengal is called Kottadesh. The Rissa kingdom was very powerful, and Kottadesh was the capital of Orissa. It was then known as Vidyanagar. Formerly, this city was situated on the southern side of the river Godavari. At that time, King Purushottam managed to control Orissa and appoint a government. The present city of Vidyanagar is on the southeast side of the river, and southeast side of the river, only 20 to 25 miles from Rajamundry. During the time of Maharaj Prataparudra, Sri Ramananda Roy was the governor there. Vidyanagar is not identical with Vijayanagar is not identical with Vidyanagar. So Rajamundry is where Mahaprabhu met with Ramananda Roy. Yeah. Utkalera Raja Purushottama Devanam Sedesha Jinin Nila Korea Sangram. Later there was a fight, and this country was conquered by King Purushottama of Orissa. Say Raja Jini Nila Tara Simasan Manikya Simasana Nama Aneka Ratan. The king was victorious over the king of Vidyanagar, and he took possession of his throne, the Manikya Simhasana, which was bedecked with many jewels. Purushottama Dev Se Bora Bhakta Arya Gopal Charane Mage Chalamora Raja. King Purushottama was a great devotee and was advanced in the civilization of the Aryans. He begged at the lotus feet of Gopal, please come to my kingdom. Tara Bhakti Base Gopal Tarayagya Gopala Loya Se Katake Aila. When the king begged him to come to his kingdom, Gopal, who was already obliged for his devotional service, accepted his prayer. Thus the king took the Gopal deity and went back to Cuttak. Jagannatha Dila Manikya Simasana Katake Gopala Seva Korila Stapan. After winning the Manikya throne, King Purushottama took it to Jagannath Puri and presented it to Lord Jagannath. In the meantime, he also established regular worship of the Gopal deity at Cuttak. Tahara Mahishe Aila Gopala Darshane Bhakti Kori Bahu Alankar Koilas Samarpane. Tahara Mahishi Aila Gopala Darshane Bhakti Kori Bahu Alankar Koilasam Samarpane. When the Gopal deity was installed at Cuttak, the queen of Purushottama Dev went to see him and with great devotion presented various kinds of ornaments. Taharana Sate Bahu Muya Mukta Hoy Tahadite Ichahoila Manete Chindai. The queen had a very valuable pearl which she wore on her nose, and she wished to give it to Gopal. She then began to think as follows: Takorer Nasate Jadi Chidra Takita Tabe E Dashe Mukta Nashai Paraita. If there were a hole in the deity's nose, I could transfer the pearl to him. Eta Chinti Namaskori Kela Swabhavane Ratre Seshe Gopalatare Kohena Swapane. Considering this, the queen offered her obeisances to Gopal and returned to her palace. That night she dreamed that Gopal appeared and began to speak to her as follows. Bhaya Bole Mata Mora Nasha Chidra Kori Mukta Parana Chila Bahujatna Kori. During my childhood, my mother made a hole in my nose and with great endeavor set a pearl there. Se Chidra Adyapiya Achaye Naasate Emukta Paraha Jaha Chahiyachadite. That very hole is still there, and you can see, and you can use it to set the pearl you desire to give me. Swapnideke se Rani Rajake Kohila Rajasaha Mukta Loya Mandire Aila. After dreaming this, the queen explained it to her husband, the king. Both the king and queen then went to the temple with the pearl. Paraila Mukta Nashai Chidra Dekiya Maha Mahotsava Koila Anandita Hoya. Seeing the hole in the nose of the deity, they set the pearl there and being very pleased held a great festival. Say hoite gopalera kateke stiti elage Sakshi-gopal nama hoilakyati. Since then, Gopal has been situated in the city of Cuttak, and he has been known ever since as Sakshi-gopal. Nityananda Mukeshuni Gopala Charita Tushta Hoila Mahaprabhu Swabhakta Sahitad. Thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the narration of Gopal's activities. Both he and his personal devotees became very pleased. Gopalera Age Jabe Prabhura Hoy Stiti Bhaktagane Deke Jena Duhe Ekam Murti. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sitting before the Gopal deity, all the devotees saw him and the deity as being of the same form. They saw Mahaprabhu and the deity as being of the same form. Duhe ek varna duhe prakanda sharir duhe rakta bhara duhar sabhava gambir. They were the same complexion and both had gigantic bodies. Both wore saffron cloth and both were very grave. Mahateja Moy Duhe Kamala Nayan Duhara Bhavavesh Duhe Chandrabadan. The deity saw that both Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gopal were brilliantly effulgent and had eyes like lotuses. They were both absorbed in ecstasy, and both their faces resembled full moons. Both their faces resembled full moons. Duadeki Nityananda Prabhu Maharange Taratari Kori Hase Bhaktagana Sange. When Nityananda saw the Gopal deity and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in that way, he began to exchange remarks with the devotees, all of whom were smiling. E Mata Maharange E Ratri Vanshya Prabhate Chalila Mango Arti Dekinya. Thus with great pleasure, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed that night in the temple. After seeing the Mangal Arti ceremony in the morning, he started on his journey. Bhuvaneshwara Pate Jaiche Koila Darashan Vistari Varni Jachan Dasha Vrindavan. In his book Chaitanya Bhagavat, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has very vividly described the places visited by the Lord on the way to Bhuvaneshwara. Kamalapure Ashi Barginadi Snanakoila Nityananda Hate Prabhu Danda Darila. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived at Kamalapur, he took his bath in the Barginadi river and left his sannyas staff in the hands of Lord Nityananda. Kapoteshwara Dekite Gela Bhaktagan Sange Eta Nityananda Prabhu Koila Danda Bange Teen Kanda Koridanda Dila Vashaya Bhakta Sange Aila Prabhu Mahesha Dekinya. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the temple of Lord Shiva known as Kapoteshwara, Nityananda Prabhu, who was keeping his sannyas staff in custody, broke the staff in 3 parts and threw it into the river Barginadi. Later, this river became known as Danda Banga Nadi, the place of the broken Danda. The mystery of the sannyas Danda staff of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has been explained by Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the order of sannyas from a Mayavadi sannyasi. The Mayavadi sannyasis generally carry 1 staff or danda. Taking advantage of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's absence, Srila Nityananda Prabhu broke the staff into 3 parts and threw it into the river, later known as the Danda Banga Nadi. In the sannyas order, there are 4 divisions: Kutichaka, Bahudaka, Hamsa, and Paramahamsa. Only when the sannyasi remains on the Kutichaka and Bahudaka platforms can he carry a staff. However, when one is elevated to the status of Hamsa or Paramahamsa, after touring and preaching the Bhakti cult, he must give up the sannyas staff. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God. It is therefore said, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahiyanya. 2 personalities, Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, are combined in the incarnation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, considering Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be an ordinary person, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Therefore, considering Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be an extraordinary person, Lord Nityananda Prabhu did not wait for the Paramahamsa stage. He reasoned that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is automatically on the Paramahamsa stage. Therefore, he does not need to carry the sannyas danda. This is the reason Sri Nityananda Prabhu broke the staff into 3 pieces and threw it into the water. Jagannathera Dula Deki Avishtahoila Dandavat Kori Preme Nachite Lagila. After seeing the temple of Jagannath from a distant place, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately became ecstatic. After offering obeisances to the temple, he began to dance in ecstasy of love of God. Bhaktagana Vishtahoyan Sabe Nache Gai Prema Veshe Prabhu Sange Raja Marge Jai. All the devotees became ecstatic in the association of Lord Chaitanya, and thus absorbed in love of God, they were dancing and singing while going along the main road. Hasekande Nache Prabhu, Hunkara Garjan, Teen Krosh Pata Hoila, Sahasra Yojan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu laughed, cried, danced, and made many ecstatic vibrations and sounds. Although the temple was only 6 miles away, to him the distance seemed thousands of miles. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in ecstasy, he considered one moment to last as long as 12 years. After seeing the Jagannath temple from a distant place, the Lord became so ecstatic that he considered the 6-mile path many thousands of miles long. Chalite Chalite Prabhu Aila Atarana Tahanashi Prabhu Kichu Baya Prakashila. Thus, walking and walking, the Lord eventually arrived at the place known as Ataranala. Arriving there, he expressed his external consciousness speaking to Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Kohe Prabhu Deho Moradanda Nityananda Bole Danda Hoila Tinakanda. When Lord Chaitanya had thus regained external consciousness, he asked Lord Nityananda Prabhu, please return my staff, please return my danda. Nityananda Prabhu then replied, it has been broken into 3 parts. So Nityananda, when Mahaprabhu asked him to return his sannyas danda, Nityananda Prabhu replied, it has been broken. It has been broken into 3 parts. What? 149. Primaveshe parila tumi tomare. What? Nityananda Kohe Prabhu Deho Moradanda Nityananda Bolidanda Hoila Teen Kanda. When Lord Nityananda thus regained external consciousness, he asked when Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Kohe Prabhu Deho Moradanda Nityananda Boledanda Hoila Teen Kanda. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had thus regained external consciousness, he asked Lord Nityananda Prabhu, please return my danda, my staff. Nityananda Prabhu then replied, it has been broken into 3 parts. Premaveshe padila tumi tomare darinu tomasaha se danda upare padinu. Nityananda Prabhu said, when you fell down in ecstasy, I caught you, but both of us together fell upon the staff. Both of us together fell upon the danda. Obviously, it's not really true, but he said that. Nityananda Prabhu said, when you fell down in ecstasy, I caught you, but both of us together fell upon on the staff. Tuijanar bare danda kanda kanda hoila se kanda kaha parila kichuna janila. Thus the staff broke under our weight. Where the pieces have gone, I cannot say. Mora aparade tomar danda hoila kanda je uchita hoi mora koratara danda. It is certainly because of my offense that your staff was broken. Now you can punish me on this account as you think proper, as you think fit. Shunikechu Mahaprabhu Dukkha Prakashila Ishad Kroda Kori Kichu Kohite Lagila. After hearing the story about how his staff, how his danda had been broken, the Lord expressed a little sadness and, displaying a bit of anger, began to speak as follows. Nila Chalyane Mora Sabe Hita Koila Sabe Danda Dana Chila Taha Narakila. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You have all benefited me by bringing me to Nilachala. However, my only possession was that danda, and you have not kept it. Tumi sab age jaha ishwara jakite, kiba ami age jai na jaba shunite." Since all of you should go before or behind me to see Lord Jagannath. I shall not go with you. You have all benefited me by bringing me to Nilachala. However, my only possession was that one staff, that one danda, and you have not kept it. So all of you should go before or behind me. So all of you should go before or behind me to see Lord Jagannath. I shall not go with you. So Mahaprabhu expressed that he was upset that his danda had been broken and lost. He said it's the only possession he had, so he told the devotees, okay, all of you can go before me and go into Vrindavan. Go into Jagannath Puri. You can all go before me, or you can go after me, but I'm not going to travel with you now, because Mahaprabhu said he was upset. Mukunda datta kohe Prabhu tumi jaha age Amesa Bache Jabna Jaba Tomar Sange. Mukunda Datta told Mahaprabhu, my Lord, you should go ahead and allow all the others to follow. We shall not go with you. Etashuni Prabhu Age Chalila Shigragati Bujite na pare koha ek. Etashuni Prabhu age chalila shigragati bujitena pare keho dui Prabhu mati. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then began to walk very swiftly before all the other devotees. No one could understand the real purpose of the two lords, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. Ihokene danda bange te hokene Bangaya Bangana Krode Teho Ihake Doshaya. The devotees could not understand why Nityananda Prabhu broke the staff, why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu permitted him to do so, or The devotees could not understand why Nityananda Prabhu broke the staff, why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu permitted him to do so, or why after permitting him, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became angry. Danda Bange Lila E Parama Gambir Se Buje Duhara Pare Jara Bhakti Dear. The pastime of breaking the staff is very deep. Only one whose devotion is fixed upon the lotus feet of the Lord, only one whose devotion is fixed upon the lotus feet of the two lords can understand it. The pastime of the breaking of the staff is very deep. Only one whose devotion is fixed upon the lotus feet of the two lords can understand it. The two lords being Nityananda Prabhu and Mahaprabhu. Brahmanya Dev Gopalera Mahima Edanya Nityananda Bhakta Jar Shrauta Sri Chaitanya. The glories of Lord Gopal, who is merciful to Brahmins, are very great. The narration of Sakshi-gopal was spoken by Nityananda Prabhu and heard by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The glories of Lord Gopal, who is very merciful to Brahmins, are very great. The narration of Sakshi-gopal was spoken by Nityananda Prabhu and heard by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shrada Jukta Hoya Iha Shune Che Jan Achare Milaye Tara Gopalacharan. One who hears the narrations of Lord Gopal with faith and love very soon attains the lotus feet of Lord Gopal. Sri Rupa Raghunath Parijaras Chaitanya Charitamrita Kohe Krishnadas, praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy. I Krishnadas narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya-lila, 5th chapter, describing the activities of Sakshi-gopal. Okay, so now we'll sing Hari Harai, and you can, Maharaj, you can highlight Ashram Maharaj, and Ashram Maharaj will sing Hari Harai.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadhavaya Namaha.
Hari Harai Nama Krishna Jadhavaya Nama.
Jadhavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha.
Jadhavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama.
Gopala Govinda Ram
Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudana.
Giridhari
Giridhari
Gopinata Marana Mohan.
Gopinata Marana Mohan. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Janardan Shiva Sari Gora Bhaktivedanta. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhaktivedanta. Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. Jai Gosai Tori Charana Badan. Jai Te Vignana Sabita Puran. Jai Gosai Dharmita Dan. Sasavar Padarenu Mora Panchagras. Sader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas. Janame Janame More Ambilas. Jai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas. Radha Krishna Nitya-lila Korila Prakam. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Guru Vaishnava Pare Majai Aman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Padma Toriya. Harinam Sankirtana Koe Narottamudam. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Jai Gaura Hari Bol.
Jai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo.
Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Jai Gaura Hari Bol.
Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Jai Saparikara Shri Shri Guru Guranga Gandharika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vanamansa Paravajaka Charyashta Tara Sadashi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Kushamasha Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vanamansa Paravajaka Charyashta Tara Sadashi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Tilak Niri Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vanamansa Paravajaka Charya Ashtatara Sadashi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramansa Paravajaka Charya Ashtatara Sadashi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramansa Paravajaka Charya Ashtatara Sadashi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhaktivedanta Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Raghunath Shadgo Swami Prabhu Ki Jai. Premsigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vishvavaranya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupad Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Nartam Srinivas Shamananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Ki Jai. Saparshada Sri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Saparshada Sriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Shri Koladvip Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Soquel Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Sevasham Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopi Govardhan Shyam Kun Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Jo Ki Jai. Shri Purushottama Dham Ki Jai. Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Jo Ki Jai. Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya Shina Shingadev Ki Jai. Bhakta Prabhara Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Friday and Saturday night programs with Srila Bhakti Kushamashram Maharaj here in the Soquel Seva Ashram Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees
Ki Jai.
Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Madhya Maharaj Ki Jai.